Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a concept that is, well, truly radical, yet fundamentally simple. The true cost of earning a dollar.
Yeah, it's a big one.
We are diving into a philosophy that changes your entire relationship with money, time, and, critically, work. This deep dive is based on a foundational piece of literature, recently updated for the 21st century workforce, that forces us to answer, maybe the most difficult question of all, are you exchanging your money or your life?
That's the core conflict, isn't it?
Oh.
And it's a profound shift. We're moving away from the traditional model that dictates we must constantly strive to earn more,
Right.
And instead transforming the internal perception of what money actually represents to us. It forces you, the listener, to confront the bargain you've made with your own time.
Okay, let's unpack this with the source's central problem statement, which they call the money trap. This trap is so pervasive that it often leads to what they vividly describe as making a dying, not a living.
Making a dying. That's powerful.
It's brutally honest about the modern routine.
It connects instantly because we know this cycle. Think about the average routine laid out in the material. The alarm rings at, 6:45? You rush through breakfast. You commute through the punishment we call rush hour.
Yeah, rush hour.
You spend 8 to 10 hours dealing with job drama, the boss, the devilish coworker, the crushing workload, and you finally clock out. You come home drained, spend necessary time decompressing by scrolling social media, maybe answering one last email.
Yeah, just zoning out.
And crashing into bed only to repeat the cycle. It's relentless.
It's that perpetual loop where you feel you're constantly running just to stand still. And the crucial observation here is this. If you are sacrificing your health, your relationships, your joy just to maintain this lifestyle, if what you do for money dominates nearly every waking hour, then you are truly making a dying.
You are trading away your life force for currency just to keep the mechanism running. Yeah.
And what's particularly insidious here is how deeply this trap is tied to identity. The authors highlight a phenomenon they call Jobism.
Oh, yeah, Jobism. That's a really key concept.
It's this hidden social hierarchy where we subconsciously measure our human worth by our paychecks. We assess success by where people work, what titles they hold, what brands they wear, how much they earn.
It's all around us. We do it without even thinking sometimes.
That makes so much sense. We internalize that pressure, and it keeps us psychologically bound to high-paying, draining jobs, even if we were, financially able to quit.
Absolutely. It's the constant comparison and the fear of social demotion that ensures we feel unable to free ourselves. It creates a sort of self-imposed financial dependency, regardless of the actual numbers in our bank account.
That's why our mission today isn't just about providing tips on saving money. It's about cutting through that psychological noise and laying out a clear path to financial independence, or FAI.
Right. And the authors define FI not as being obscenely rich, but as achieving financial integrity, knowing exactly how much money is truly enough for you to live a life aligned with your deepest values.
Enough. That's the key word.
It really is.
And here's where the radical idea comes in. If you achieve financial integrity, you stop optimizing for profit and start optimizing for joy. You liberate your most precious resource,
Yeah.
your time.
It's a deep internal rewiring. And it starts with the most fundamental definition of all.
Let's jump straight into section 1 then. The revolutionary core of this deep dive, we have to deconstruct money itself because the conventional definition is, well, it's failing us.
It really is. We operate daily assuming money is this stable, concrete thing, pieces of paper, plastic, or, ones and zeros in a bank account. But the source rattles the cage of that certainty.
How so?
Pointing out that money is simply a fiat currency. Its value is agreed upon by society, but it is not inherently real or true in some absolute sense.
That's a tough concept to swallow because we are taught since childhood that money is the ultimate store of value. You save it, it'll be there later.
Right. But history provides ample evidence that this idea is only truthy. It feels true, but it's not the ultimate truth. If you save money to spend another day, you're banking on a promise, and that promise can shatter.
Yeah, like inflation eats it away, or worse.
Exactly. We saw this with high inflation periods, the bursting of bubbles, or catastrophic events like the collapse of Enron pensions or the Great Recession of 2008. The dollars were still there, maybe, but their value, their promise, vanished for many people.
Okay, so if money isn't inherently real in that way, what is the ultimate truth about it?
This realization leads directly to the core, the kind of red pill moment that transforms everything. The fundamental definition that is always true for you, personally. Money is something you trade your life energy for.
Life energy. Okay, explain that.
It's the only real finite asset you possess, your time, your vitality. If you live to the age of 80, you have roughly 650,000 hours in a lifetime. The source estimates maybe half of that is spent on basic maintenance, sleeping, eating, staying clothed. The remaining hours are your treasure,
Your actual life hours.
your actual life hours. And when you sell those precious non-renewable hours for money, that act of selling is the only thing that gives the money its real personal meaning.
Wow. So knowing this allows you to ask a profoundly transformative question before every purchase, every commitment.
Exactly. How many hours of my one life did I invest to have this chair, this car, this diploma?
That changes everything. That new phone isn't just $1,000.
It's X number of hours you stood on an assembly line or sat in meetings or dealt with difficult clients. It recontextualizes consumption entirely. Suddenly, that $200 gadget isn't $200, it's maybe 2 days of your life. Gone.
So the authors use the analogy of the Matrix.
Yeah, to describe the societal game design that keeps people playing, we are born into the matrix of consumerism, fed the illusion that acquiring stuff, bigger houses, fancier vacations, more luxurious goods will inevitably lead to happiness.
And it feels like a societal mandate, doesn't it? We are told that consuming is economic patriotism, necessary to keep the wheels of industry turning.
Right, often leading us to feel that we must buy and accumulate. The material points out that our rising expectations constantly outstrip our income, pushing people into debt, which traps us further in the working cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
Exactly. And that's why the language matters. We are literally called consumers, which means people who use up, waste, and squander. Winning the game, in this new philosophy, is not about dying with the most toys or having the biggest bank account.
So what is winning?
It is about reaching the point where you have precisely what you need and nothing in excess, and most importantly, achieving the ability to stop playing the game at will. That is true freedom.
But why? If money is simply finite life energy, do we keep selling more and more of it? Why are we stuck in that game? That takes us into section 2, where we look at the data and the painful myth of more is better.
This is where the behavioral economics research steps in. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman's studies on money and happiness.
Right, I've heard of that.
They found that beyond a certain level of sufficiency, often cited around $75,000 a year in the U.S., though that number is debated and varies.
Yeah, hang on. Doesn't that $75,000 number shift dramatically based on location? I mean, living in San Francisco or Manhattan is vastly different from rural Kansas. You can't tell someone in Silicon Valley that $75,000 is their happiness peak.
That's a totally fair point. And yes, the number itself needs context. More recent studies adjust for cost of living. But the fundamental truth remains the same. Once basic needs are met and you move into a comfortable middle class, the correlation between salary and day-to-day emotional well-being flattens out. More money doesn't automatically equal more happiness.
Okay, so the absolute number might vary, but the principle holds.
Exactly. And the real proof lies in the author's seminar data from decades ago, which holds up universally, they argue.
Tell us about that seminar data. That sounds interesting.
Well, participants across all income brackets, from struggling workers to multimillionaires, consistently rated their current happiness between 2.6 and 2.8 out of 5.
Wow. So basically universally meh.
Pretty much. And when asked, how much money do you need to be happy, what do you think they said?
Let me guess. Everyone said they needed more than they had.
Precisely. They consistently said they needed 50% more than I have now to be happy. Across the board.
50% more, regardless of whether they made $30K or $300K.
Yes, it was a staggering realization for those participants. The person right in front of them probably had the more they thought would solve all their problems, and yet they were just as habitually, unhappy. They realized that their desire for more was an internal mechanism, not an external financial necessity.
So this is where the fulfillment curve comes in, right, to chart this dynamic?
Exactly. Initially, money buys massive fulfillment because it meets basic survival needs: food, shelter, warmth. The mind records this pattern: need to corral, look outside, get stuff, get fulfillment.
That pattern worked when we were infants.
And we stick to it, even when the benefit diminishes. But as we climb the economic ladder and start buying luxuries, that first car, the bigger apartment, designer clothing, the cost per thrill increases exponentially and the high wears off faster.
Right, the excitement fades quicker.
And then, when you move into major affluence, the curve starts its sharp, eventual decline. More money brings more complications and more worry. Higher taxes, needing tax accountants, complicated investment portfolios, more possessions to protect, more complex bills.
It becomes a major drain on time and energy just to manage the stuff.
Precisely. It starts owning you.
So the radical promise, then, is finding the peak of that curve. Enough.
Enough. It's not deprivation, it's an optimization point.
Enough is described as a fearless place. It's having necessities, niceties, and small luxuries, but nothing in excess to weigh you down, distract you, or cause distress.
Yeah, you fully appreciate what money brings you, but you never buy anything that isn't truly needed or deeply wanted.
So what lies beyond the peak, pulling our fulfillment down?
Clutter. That's anything that doesn't serve you but takes up space, money, and worry. This often manifests in the form of what the authors call a Gazinga's pin.
A Gazinga's pin. What on earth is that?
It's a funny name, but the concept is brilliant because we all have them. It's that item you compulsively buy, driven by unconscious habit rather than actual need.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Like,
Think about it. Earbuds, specialty chocolates, unworn shoes, new clothes you didn't really need. You become a shopping robot, convincing yourself you need the wireless or waterproof version this time.
and then you take it home and
Place it in the Gazinga's pin drawer, forgetting about it until the next shopping trip triggers the same impulse.
we all have that drawer. Mine is filled with half-used subscription boxes that promise me joy. How many hours did I sell for those fancy, forgotten socks?
That's the question. The authors encourage you to confront this clutter, like pricing those 20 pairs of unworn shoes or the unused exercise equipment. That realization is powerful because you discover the real value of that stationary bicycle is not the pounds you'll lose, but the price it will command at a garage sale.
Ouch. Okay.
That money can be redirected toward your freedom.
That philosophical groundwork brings us to Section 3, the practical roadmap. This is where we stop theorizing and start calculating. The first 3 steps are foundational. Step 1 is about achieving financial integrity by making peace with the past.
Right. This step requires a financial inventory, a confrontation with reality that can be painful, but often incredibly empowering. Part A is calculating your total lifetime earnings.
Total lifetime earnings, how do you even figure that out?
You need to figure out every dollar that has ever come into your life using old tax returns, Social Security statements, or bank records. Whatever you can find, it's detective work.
Wow. The power of this is less about the number itself, maybe, and more about the psychological realization.
Absolutely. The authors tell the story of a divorced woman in her mid-30s who suffered from a profound sense of dependency, believing she had made no financial contribution to her marriage. By doing this calculation, she realized she had earned over $50,000 from small, odd jobs during those years. That raw data, that objective truth, gave her the confidence to apply for and land a job at twice the salary she thought possible. It transformed her self-image from dependent to capable.
That's amazing, just seeing the number.
Just seeing the number. Then part B is calculating your net worth. Assets minus liabilities. This is the challenge. What have you got to show for it?
So listing everything you own and everything you owe.
Exactly. You list assets at current market value house, car, using the Blue Book value, not what you wish it was worth. You must face the truth of debt and truly confront the clutter, pricing that unworn gear, those Gazinga's pins.
It sounds like an emotional reckoning.
It can be. One participant mentioned in the text took 3 months to go through her inventory, recalling how and why each item came into her life. This led her to a deep sense of gratitude for what she already had.
So it's not just about finding the negative, it's about appreciating the positive, too.
Definitely. It transforms your outlook from feeling perpetually lacking to realizing your existing prosperity, even if it's just appreciating the roof over your head.
Okay, so that's step 1. What's step 2?
Step 2 is the core intellectual tool. Being in the present, which means tracking your life energy with a no shame, no blame consciousness.
No shame, no blame. I like that.
It's crucial. The instruction is simple. Track every cent that comes in or goes out for a month to see reality versus your assumption. Every single penny.
That sounds tedious, but I guess it gives you the raw data.
It does, but the truly transformative part is calculating your real hourly wage.
Ah, yes, the real hourly wage. We often look at our nominal wage, say $25 an hour, and feel successful. But the program reveals that this number is highly deceptive.
Highly deceptive, exactly. You must factor in all the hidden costs, both in time and money, associated only with holding that job.
Okay, let's break that down because this is where listeners often get tripped up. What specifically are we factoring in besides the 40 hours we are paid for?
Okay, start with the time investment. You have to count the time spent commuting. That's time you can't get back, time dedicated to the job.
Right. Even if you're listening to podcasts.
It's still job time. Then, the time spent on costuming. which includes shopping for work clothes, applying makeup, dealing with dry cleaning, all that prep time.
Costuming.
Yeah.
Interesting term. Okay, what else?
Then, the time and money spent on convenience meals, lunches out because you didn't have time to pack, coffee breaks, maybe happy hours with clients or coworkers that feel obligatory.
And the really sneaky one you mentioned earlier, daily decompression.
Yes. If you need screen time, 2 hours of video games, or a cocktail just to unwind from job stress, that's job-induced fatigue. The time and money spent recovering from it is a job expense.
So if my job makes me need that glass of wine.
The cost of the wine and the time spent drinking it could arguably be factored in. Same with vacations. If they are just a necessary time out to recover so you can get back in the fight, that's also part of the true cost. Plus job-related illness, stress-induced costs.
Wow. Okay, let's walk through an example. Let's say someone makes $25 an hour, 40 hours a week. That's $1,000 gross.
Okay. Now let's add the hidden time investments, the adjustments.
All right, let's say commute is 10 hours a week. Getting ready, costuming, 5 hours. Decompression, let's be honest, maybe 10 hours.
Yeah.
Job errands, lunch breaks you work through, 5 hours.
Okay, so it's 40 paid hours plus 10 plus 5 plus 10 plus 5.
Yeah.
That's 30 hours of required job-related time. You are investing 70 hours total time into that job per week.
70 hours.
Not 40.
Not 40.
Now let's factor in money expenses. Say you spend $100 per week on gas for the commute, work clothes, professional lunches, maybe some extra childcare needed because of work hours.
Okay, $100 out of pocket.
So you earned $1,000 gross, but you spent $100 just to keep the job. That leaves you with $900 net gain for 70 hours of your life.
Okay, $900 divided by 70 hours is, carry the one, roughly $12.85 an hour.
Precisely. That $25.85 an hour, less than half.
That is sobering.
It is. And the takeaway is profound. Are you willing to work this job for this real hourly wage? Many people realize they're working for minimum wage or less, effectively.
Like Mark H. in the source material, realizing he spent almost all his income just maintaining his job's appearance and complexity.
Exactly. Once they recognize this, they can make conscious, powerful changes, like bringing their lunch, using mass transit, eliminating unnecessary stylish clothes. It gives you agency.
Wait, I have to challenge something here, though. If I calculate that my job makes me so exhausted I need to hire a housekeeper, and I subtract that cost, how do I know I'm not just conveniently blaming the job for poor life choices instead of taking personal responsibility? That feels like a slippery slope.
That's a critical question and a fair one. The methodology addresses this by focusing on systemic exhaustion or requirements tied directly to the job. Is the housekeeper needed because the job leaves you with zero energy, or would you want one anyway?
Okay.
If you were doing deep, fulfilling work aligned with your purpose, you might still want a housekeeper for convenience. But the need for excessive decompression or outsourcing basic life tasks often stems from the mismatch between your values and the job you're performing for pay.
So it's about the why behind the expense.
Yes, the calculation is meant to be a non-judgmental mirror, showing you the cost of that particular bargain you've made with your time and energy. It's an information gathering process, not a guilt trip. Does that make sense?
It does. That makes the process feel much more liberating, actually. Okay, so step 3 is the monthly tabulation, turning that raw data into a self-portrait.
Right. This is where you create custom categories that reflect the uniqueness of your life. You move beyond generic budget categories like miscellaneous, which is often a black hole.
So instead of just food, maybe.
You might split food into groceries, just us, versus restaurants, versus work lunches, or clothing into utility needed versus fashion wants. The goal is to discern where your life energy is really going. Rosemaria First categories, for example, revealed a high value on beauty and aesthetics and a focus on health products, showing a proactive approach to well-being reflected in her spending.
Then comes the conversion that makes everything tangible. You convert every dollar total in each category into hours of life energy using your real hourly wage.
Yes, this is the gut punch, often. If your real wage is that $12.85 an hour we calculated, and you spent $80 on, say, impulse buys online.
That means you spent over 6 hours of your life energy, nearly an entire workday on those items.
Exactly. You measure that stack of stuff or that expensive meal against the whole day of work you could have taken off, or the time you could have spent with your family, or pursuing a passion. It makes the trade-off incredibly clear.
Maddie and Tom C., the couple mentioned, calculated their joint real hourly wage at $10.23. So every dollar they spent represented nearly 6 minutes of their combined life energy.
The dollar total is abstract. The time total is visceral. It hits differently.
Okay, the culmination of all this tracking brings us to step 4, which you said is the true heart of the program. Applying the 3 transformational questions. This is where you apply critical thinking and maybe soul-searching to the hours of life energy you spent.
Yes, this step demands ruthless honesty with yourself. You take those life energy totals from your monthly tabulation food, just us. X hours, clothing, fashion; Y hours, entertainment; Z hours, and subject them to scrutiny.
Question 1. Fulfillment, satisfaction, and value. Are you getting proportional fulfillment for the life energy spent?
This is what exposes dead ends and those Gazinga pin purchases immediately. Are those 6 hours you spend on impulse buys bringing you 6 hours worth of joy or utility? Probably not.
For many, this question is shocking, isn't it? They might realize, say, 25 hours of life energy spent eating out dwarfs the 8 hours they devoted to their child in a month.
Even though they intellectually value family above all else.
Yeah.
The numbers show the disparity between stated values and actual expenditure of life energy. It's not about judgment, it's about awareness.
Okay. Question 2 requires deep self-reflection. Is this expenditure of life energy in alignment with my values and life purpose?
Yeah, and this is tough because first, you have to know your values and purpose. The authors reference the work of Viktor Frankl, who found that the will to have meaning and purpose is superior to the will to have power or pleasure.
So you actually have to define your purpose first.
You really do. Samuel D., a participant mentioned, had a nice life but felt angry and frustrated. He did some soul-searching and identified that his predominant desire was to contribute to solving world problems.
Okay.
He realized his current school job, while stable, did not allow that. So he took a significant pay cut, left the school system, and developed a private counseling firm focused on that mission. The lower paycheck was aligned with his values, and his fulfillment skyrocketed.
That's the true definition of integrity, isn't it? When the internal and external match. Okay, and the third question is often the most revealing because it's an information gathering process. How might this expenditure change if I didn't have to work for money?
This shines a light on unconscious patterns and habits you engage in, simply to compensate for the job you hate or the stress it causes.
Like, if you're spending heavily on expensive hobbies or travel just to escape the 40-hour grind.
That expense would likely vanish or dramatically change once the work pressure is gone. You wouldn't need the escape hatch anymore. It helps identify spending driven by dissatisfaction.
So the ultimate outcome of asking these 3 questions for every category is what? You assign something.
Yes. You assign a 0, meaning stay the same, it's aligned.
Yeah.
An up arrow, meaning I want to spend more life energy here, it's highly fulfilling. Or a down arrow, meaning decrease this, it's not worth the life energy. The goal is to adjust your spending until all categories are 0 or pluses.
No more down arrows. Everything you spend your life energy on aligns with your true values and brings proportional fulfillment.
Wow. We see the psychological shift in the case studies. IVU grew up poor and was obsessed with clothes, her Gazinga's pin. She measured her distance from poverty by the compliments she received on her attire.
Classic external validation seeking.
Exactly. She realized through this process that the hours of life energy spent on new outfits did not bring proportional fulfillment. Once she saw the true cost in hours, she simply stopped buying so much with no sense of deprivation or struggle because she was acting in alignment with her newly discovered true values. The desire just faded.
And think about Hal N., who was trapped by unnecessary overhead and guilt. His large financial planning office cost him $2,900 a month.
Right, but he realized he did most of his business outside the office anyway. By asking those 3 questions, he moved his work home, slashing his cost dramatically.
And he also confronted his spending on his 9 children, recognizing he was paying guilt money that was actively enabling their dependency rather than helping them.
Yes. Cutting out those 2 major blind spots, the office and the guilt money, cut his monthly expenses by 50%, just by asking those 3 questions honestly.
That clarity is powerful, which leads us nicely into section 5, which you said is the fun part. Creative frugality. This sounds much better than just being cheap.
It really is. This is a complete lifestyle shift that reframes saving not as deprivation, but as maximizing enjoyment and efficiency, getting the most value out of your life energy.
I love that phrase from the book. Frugality is defined as having a high joy-to-stuff ratio.
Exactly. It's about fully enjoying what you have. The Spanish word aprovechar encapsulates this perfectly. It means to use something wisely, to get full value from every possession and every moment. It's succulent, not miserly.
So what are some key strategies for this creative frugality?
Well, the first, and maybe hardest for many people trapped in Jobism, is to simply stop trying to impress other people. Conspicuous consumption buying things to show off status is an endless, fruitless waste of life energy.
And odds are, others are too busy trying to impress you to even notice your efforts.
Pretty much. Then you move into practical strategies, like taking aggressive care of what you have. This extends to your body preventive practices like dental care, diet, and exercise, save thousands in future medical bills, which is saved life energy.
And for possessions.
Simple maintenance. Dusting refrigerator coils so it runs efficiently, performing regular oil changes on your car, replacing a computer hard drive before it fails and takes your data with it. Small actions, big savings.
The maker revolution is central to this too, right? Do it yourself, DIY.
Absolutely. Every breakdown can be a learning opportunity rather than an immediate financial crisis. The source tells the fantastic story of an FI participant whose heating system failed. She called 3 repair companies, got 3 different expensive diagnoses.
Oh boy.
She refused to pay, researched the system online herself, made an educated guess on the component failure, and found a 4th company whose analysis matched hers. She saved hundreds of dollars and gained confidence by observing their work. Knowledge becomes currency.
That's brilliant. Anticipating your needs is also crucial to avoid impulse buying.
Keep a running list of things you anticipate needing. If you avoid those expensive corner store trips for forgotten items or snacks just because you didn't plan, the savings stack up quickly. The authors point to a corollary to Parkinson's law. Needs expand to encompass whatever you want to buy on impulse.
Huh. So true. What about getting good value?
Research value, quality, and durability. Don't be a bargain junkie who automatically buys the cheapest option if it won't last. Spending $40 on a high-quality tool that lasts 10 years is cheaper in life energy than buying a $30 tool that lasts only 5 years and must be replaced sooner.
Makes sense. And of course, buy it for less.
Comparison shopping, buying used. New cars lose nearly 20% of their value in the first year alone. Buying a gently used vehicle can save massive amounts of life energy instantly. Thrift stores, online marketplaces, they're treasure troves.
And finally, meet your needs differently through substitution.
Yes, this is key. People don't necessarily need expensive equipment. They need something worthwhile to do. They don't need closets full of designer clothes. They need respect, community, and excitement. Find cheaper or free ways to meet those underlying needs.
Like Harry N. in the book, who remodeled his unused dining room into a studio apartment.
And found a couple willing to do yard and housework in exchange for room and board. He met his need for help around the house without spending cash, effectively substituting his unused space for services. Very creative.
This focus on maximizing value leads directly to step 7, valuing your life energy by maximizing income. This feels counterintuitive after all the talk about frugality.
It seems like it, but it's about breaking the psychological link between work and wages.
Okay, explain that.
It's empowering to look historically. Hunter-gatherer cultures often worked only about 15 hours a week for survival, according to some research. The modern push for the 40-hour week and the doctrine of full employment actively equates free time with failure and indolence.
We're conditioned to think we should be working all the time.
Exactly. By separating paid employment, which is often just a transaction, from work, which can be fulfillment of purpose, paid or unpaid, we regain choice.
So, since paid employment is purely transactional in this view,
You must maximize the return on the life energy invested. Get paid what you are worth for the hours you choose to sell. Ted Y., a carpenter in the book, wanted to pursue his dream of writing. To free up time, he decided to start bidding his remodeling jobs much higher.
thinking he'd get less work, right?
Right. Assuming he'd get fewer contracts and thus more time to write. To his astonishment, he got all the work he wanted at the higher wages because people recognized and respected his quality. His income went up, his work hours went down, and his anxiety plummeted. He became empowered because he valued his time properly.
And look at Nina N's trajectory. She started as a maid, then administrative assistant, then executive director. Her wall chart was a daily reminder.
That the more she sold her life energy for, the sooner her time would be her own. Her earnings continuously went off the chart as she maximized her pay, fueled by the FI goal. It's about getting fair value for the life energy you do choose to trade.
Okay, let's quickly circle back to step 5, which we skipped over slightly. Visibility.
Right, just briefly creating that wall chart or an online equivalent. Plotting your total monthly income and total monthly expenses provides daily reinforcement. Seeing the lines converge is incredibly motivating. It turns an abstract goal into an actionable map you see every day.
Makes sense. Now for the final push. Section 6, the mathematical path to financial independence. Step 8 introduces the crossover point. This sounds like the magic moment.
It really is. It's the moment when your money starts working harder for you than you work for it. You calculate your monthly investment income using the simple formula. Monthly investment income equals your total capital, multiplied by the current long-term interest rate you can reasonably expect, then divided by 12 months.
So this gives you a projection of your passive income stream.
Exactly. This line, tracking your passive income potential, is plotted on your wall chart, steadily climbing as your capital grows. The crossover point is reached when that monthly investment income line crosses above your monthly expenses line.
And at that moment,
Employment officially becomes optional. You are financially independent. You are free to choose whether you work for pay or not.
knowing this endpoint empowers people profoundly, doesn't it? Like Larry D., the human resources employee you mentioned.
Yeah, he calculated that he would reach FI within a finite period. He reported feeling bulletproof at work after that. He gained phenomenal energy and confidence and successfully negotiated some of the toughest settlements of his career because he was no longer financially dependent on the outcome. The fear was gone.
You can also work backward to calculate your finish line number. This is where the famous 25x rule or the 4% withdrawal rate comes in.
Right. If your average monthly expenses refined by this whole program are, say, $3,000 per month,
You multiply that by 12 to get $36,000 annually.
then you divide that annual expense by a generally accepted safe withdrawal rate. It's historically around 4% or 0.04. Or the shortcut is just multiplying the annual expense by 25.
So $36,000 divided by 0.04 equals $900,000. Or $36,000 times 25 is $900,000.
That is your magic number in this example. The capital you need invested to generate enough passive income to cover your expenses indefinitely based on historical market performance and withdrawal studies.
Now, the source outlines 3 pillars of financial security needed during the wealth accumulation phase. We need to clearly distinguish them. First, your cushion.
That's your standard emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of basic living expenses in a liquid, safe place like an FDIC-insured bank account. Easy access, no risk.
Okay, standard advice. Second, your capital.
This is the big one. This is the income-producing core that makes FI possible. This is the money that goes into those bonds or index funds we'll discuss next. This is the $900,000 in our example.
Got it. And third, the cash. Spelled C-A-C-H-E, but pronounced like cash. This sounds different.
It is critical because it's not just an emergency fund extension. It's surplus funds beyond your cushion and capital, specifically earmarked to replace major infrequent items like a car or major dental work or new roof, things you know will come up eventually.
But its main role is psychological reassurance.
Hugely psychological. We saw this with Rosemary the First in the text. She found herself getting uneasy as her crossover point approached. Rationally, she knew her investment income was sufficient, but she worried about catastrophic events. What if she totaled her car and had a major illness in the same year?
The what-ifs can be paralyzing.
They can. By building up a significant cash separate from her main capital, she brought her safety net closer, made it more tangible, and quelled that inner worry wart. It made her feel truly secure and able to actually enjoy her FI.
Okay, that makes sense. So step 9 deals with investing for FI. The authors impartially present the 2 main roads, historically speaking. The classic road is Joe Dominguez's conservative strategy from 1969.
Right. Joe's original plan, developed when he achieved FI, focused entirely on the greatest safety of capital and interest through U.S. Treasury bonds. His criteria were absolute liquidity, tax exemption at the time for some bonds, and stability of income.
And it worked for him.
Brilliantly. When he retired in 1969, he only needed about $75,000 in capital because interest rates back then were incredibly high, even reaching up to 15% in the early 80s. Can you imagine 15% on safe government bonds?
Wow, no, that's unheard of today.
Exactly. And that's the crucial caveat the authors note. That strategy, while safe, is now largely outdated for generating sufficient income unless you have massive capital. High, stable interest rates on super safe investments are no longer typical.
So to support Joe's frugal $75,000 FI lifestyle using safe treasury bonds today, you would need
Much closer to that magic number of maybe $900,000 or $1 million we calculated earlier, depending on current rates. You need far more capital just to generate the same income Joe got easily.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
Which brings us to the modern approach favored by the FIRE, financial independence, retire early movement, low-cost index funds.
Right, like VTSAX or similar funds.
Exactly. This approach follows the Bogleheads philosophy, named after Vanguard founder Jack Bogle. It emphasizes passive management, broad diversification like tracking the entire U.S. stock market or the S&P 500, And critically, extremely low fees or expense ratios.
Because fees eat away at your returns over time.
Massively. Legendary investor Warren Buffett supports this, famously noting that the know-nothing investor can actually outperform most investment professionals simply by consistently investing in a low-cost index fund over decades and doing nothing else.
Just buy and hold, basically.
Buy and hold, stay the
Yeah.
course. What's transformative here is the mindset shift. Fire proponents view market crashes not with panic, but as a blowout sale on stocks, a chance to buy more shares cheaply.
That takes discipline.
It does. But this passive approach relies on the long-term upward trajectory of the global economy and is considered reliable, flexible, and requires minimal life energy to manage once it's set up.
Lastly, the source covers real estate.
Yes. Income-producing assets, like buying a duplex or quad where tenants cover the mortgage and provide cash flow, are popular. But the authors also stress investing in your own home or land to lower expenses, installing solar panels, investing in farmstead infrastructure if you're rural, or renovating space to rent out.
Like the couple mentioned who paid off their mortgage faster by living on 8 acres and renting out 2 apartments they built.
Exactly. Using assets you already have to generate income or reduce costs drastically.
Okay, our final section takes us beyond mere financial numbers to section 7, wealth beyond money or natural currency. This sounds intriguing.
It is. We rely on national currency,
Yeah.
money for transactions, obviously. But the authors argue we rely far more on what they call natural currency, which is the mutual exchange between people.
So like community and relationships.
Exactly. The more one weaves their life beneficially with others through sharing, helping, and mutual aid, the less actual money is needed day to day. This leads to financial interdependence, which is arguably more resilient and fulfilling than pure independence.
The source summarizes this natural wealth through the ABCs: abilities, belonging, and community.
Right. Abilities are your skills and knowledge, what you know how to do yourself. Damon S. in the book realized he lacked the practical skills to meet his basic needs without money if something went wrong.
So what did he do?
He cut expenses, saved up, and enrolled in a wilderness college to learn self-sufficiency skills like foraging, basic survival, carpentry. He increased his internal security and decreased his reliance on the market by building his own capabilities.
Makes sense. Belonging is who walks with you in life.
Yes. Cultivating enduring friendships and mutual aid networks becomes crucial, especially given that traditional family and church structures are less common or reliable for some today. As the material states, isolation is expensive. Sharing resources, knowledge, childcare tools, that's real wealth.
And community is the social environment.
This is the savings gained from mutual aid, utilizing public resources like libraries, which are amazing, parks, or joining things like time banks where people swap an hour of service, say a haircut, for an hour of help, like computer assistance.
So you trade skills directly without money changing hands.
Exactly. Your community provides a natural, non-monetary currency that reduces reliance on the dollar for everything.
Together, these 4 corners abilities, belonging, community, and your financial stuff savings, form your total nest egg.
It provides a foundation of security that transcends mere financial capital. It's a more holistic view of wealth.
We have to acknowledge the psychological reality, though. When freedom is imminent, many people hit the wall. Crossover point jitters.
Oh, absolutely. It's very common. They're terrified, wondering, what will I do with all this freedom? Who am I if I'm not my job?
It's an identity crisis almost.
It can be. Joe Dominguez prepared for this by spending his accumulation years designing and testing his post-fi motorhome lifestyle on weekends. Having a plan, or at least ideas, for your freedom, focusing on body and soul health, maybe volunteering, pursuing passions, is essential during this transition. You need something to move towards.
So let's wrap up our deep dive into transforming your life energy into freedom. It's been quite a journey. We learned that money is simply finite time invested in the pursuit of security, or maybe just stuff.
Yeah, traded life energy, that's the core.
We discovered the deceptive nature of the fulfillment curve, how more doesn't always mean better, and the liberating power of calculating your real hourly wage. Seeing that number, wow.
It's often a wake-up call.
And finally, we saw the tangible path to the crossover point, where investment income eclipses expenses, making employment truly optional. Freedom.
And this entire program challenges that psychological bondage of Jobism, where we measure our human worth by the size of our paychecks and our job titles. Our paid employment is fundamentally transactional. It's okay for it to just be a transaction.
While true work, True fulfillment is aligned with our purpose, paid or not.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the final provocative thought for you to carry forward this week. Since our paid job is often transactional and true work is aligned with purpose, what is the one concrete step you'll take this week? Maybe it's calculating your real hourly wage. Maybe it's inventorying your clutter. Or simply saying no to one Gazinga's pin purchase. Just one step to begin the shift.
How will you move from being a consumer, one who uses up, wastes, and squanders resources and time, to being a conscious designer of a life filled with enough, a life that genuinely aligns with your deepest, most valued life energy?